Welcome. This will be a video series where we'll be reading through and discussing the book Histories by Herodotus. Now, this is the version and translation I'll be reading, so it's the landmark Herodotus. Okay, this initial video will just be providing some context into who Herodotus is and what this book Histories is all about. So, Herodotus was born in roughly 490 BC in the ancient Greek city of Halicarnassus on the southwest coast of Asia Minor, which was at that time a part of the Persian Empire. It's now, however, the Turkish city of Bodrum. Herodotus is considered to be the first historian, or the father of history. Throughout his life, he travelled extensively around the ancient world and inquired about their geography, traditions, culture, and history. It's believed he's from an aristocratic, well-off family, and by the standards of the times, he was very widely travelled. We know from Halicarnassus he went to the island of Samos, where he lived for a number of years, and then embarked throughout many Greek cities. It's believed he travelled around the Black Sea to places such as Crimea, around Asia Minor. He even claims to have went up the Nile and explored Egypt and northern Africa, and eventually ended up in southern Italy. So, what is Histories about? The underlying structure of the book is guided by the rise of the Persian Empire, and specifically their dealings with the Greeks. It traces the Greco-Persian War back to its roots. Their battles that eventually happened only a generation before this book was written, in roughly 440 BC. He mentions in his book that his sources for his writings were his own observations and conducting interviews while travelling. We're going to see that his book title Histories doesn't necessarily mean what it means today. Histories, or historia, in ancient Greek, meant inquiry. So far from just relaying past events, we'll see Herodotus also describes the geography of most of the known world at the time and the culture and peoples of those places. The whole of Book 2 is dedicated to Egypt's geography, culture, history, and its kings. Herodotus was an orator. He presented these stories in a theatre to an audience. There could perhaps have been some actors playing out some of the scenes Herodotus was narrating, and whilst he was orating his stories, a scribe wrote it all down. Herodotus is now being crowned as the father of history, first given to him by the Roman Cicero. He was given this title because he was really the first to thoroughly study the past and explain cause and effect events. From the outset, he states what his intentions are in writing this book. Herodotus of Halicarnassus, here displays his inquiry, so that human achievements may not be forgotten in time, and great and marvellous deeds, some displayed by Greeks, some by barbarians, may not be without their glory, and especially to show why the two peoples fought with each other. Here are some of the major themes that we'll notice throughout the book. The theme of retribution or justice, so those that commit evil deeds in Herodotus' stories end up paying for them in the future. Divine ordinance or destiny, so dreams in Herodotus' writings come from the gods and always come true. So does the foretelling of the oracles. These dreams and predictions, however, often come in the form of riddles that are often misunderstood by the people hearing them. When the Lydian king Croesus consulted an oracle as to whether to attack the Persians, he was told, "You shall destroy a great empire." He interpreted this as he would be successful against Cyrus and the Persians. However, we'll see the great empire the oracle was referring to was his own. The constant cycle of human prosperity. So Herodotus states that he shall speak of small and great cities alike. For many states that were once great have now become small, and those that were great in my time were small before. Knowing therefore that human prosperity never continues in the same place, I shall mention both alike. Due to the wide open nature of Herodotus' inquiry, Herodotus has many digressions or additions throughout, often jumping back and forth in time, and which at times can make it quite difficult to read. Herodotus has been criticised for his work with charges of inaccuracy, exaggeration, and bias. The first century writer Plutarch, for example, wrote an essay called On the Malice of Herodotus, and in that he claimed his book was just a bunch of tall tales. A problem we encounter, however, is if we're just going to write off Herodotus and not believe anything he has to say, then who are we going to believe then? He's the primary and often only source of events in the time periods he's writing about. So even though there may be some exaggerations and things that we should take with a grain of salt throughout, for a lot of the time, this is all we really have to reference. Modern historians and philosophers take a more positive view of Herodotus' writings, with few arguing that Herodotus exaggerated the extent of his travels and invented his sources. And generally, he's regarded as reliable in antiquity, and especially so today. Now, how I'm planning on structuring this series is probably just about 10-minute videos, just reading through and discussing the book. Thanks.